Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Genesis, the 32nd chapter. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's host." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. So now it doesn't say what form the angels took, but we do know that Jacob recognized them as angels. So it's likely that he probably saw them in their angelic form, right? Two camps. To all the camps. It's an inside joke. And Jacob sent messengers before him, because now he's in the land. So he sends messengers ahead to Esau his brother onto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and stayed there until now. And I have oxen, and asses, flocks, and men servants, and women servants. And I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find grace in thy sight." So he was basically trying to make peace with Esau, knowing on what terms he had left. And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him." So we came to deliver your message to Esau, and now he's on his way to meet you with 400 men. And Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. And he divided the people that was with him, and the flocks, and the herds, and the camels into two bands. So he feared that Esau might still be angry. He's coming with all these men. He probably has evil intentions in his heart. So he basically divided, as we just read, everything that he had into two companies, two groups. And he said, "If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape." So at the very least, not everything is lost. And Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, the God of my father Isaac, the Lord Yahweh, which saidst unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shewed unto thy servant." So he's saying, damn, you've done a lot for me, and I wasn't even worthy of the smallest of the things you did for me. "For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become two bands." So I crossed this Jordan River when I was leaving with just a staff, barely anything to my name. And now look at me, I'm coming back with two companies, two groups of riches, of family, of cattle, of people. "Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children." So he feared that Esau would come and basically out of revenge and anger kill him and his wives and their children. "And thou saidst, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude." And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother. So Jacob basically, set up camp there and gathered, some of his riches as a present for Esau. That's what it means by of what came to his hand. So whatever he could put together. 200 she-goats. So he was rich. If you given 200 she-goats as a present, and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 milch camels, and that milch is basically a mother that that is breastfeeding. So like a mother that newly had a child here, being the camel, with their colts, which is their children, 40 kine and 10 bulls, 20 she asses and 10 foals, which are male donkeys. And he delivered them into the hand of his servants, every drove by themselves. So he broke up his servants with these gifts into groups. That's the drove. and said unto his servants, pass over before me. So you go ahead before me, I'll be in the back, and put a space betwixt drove and drove. So I'm going to break you up into different groups, right? One group will have maybe the asses, another one will have the camels, another will have this and that and this and that. And each of you, there will be space between all of you. And he commanded the foremost, saying, went sort of the first at the head, the beginning, when Esau my brother meeteth thee, and asketh thee, saying, whose art thou? So whose servant are you? And whither goest thou? And whose are these before thee? So who are you? Where are you going? And who all this cattle and stuff? Who is it for? Who is it? Who owns this? Then thou shalt say, they be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau. And behold, he is behind us. So this is a present that Jacob put together for you. In fact, he's actually behind us. And so commanded he the second and the third and all that followed the droves. So each group, he said, say the same thing. When he gets to you, tell him this, and then tell him that I'm behind. Saying, on this manner shall ye speak unto Esau when ye find him. And say ye moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me. So, for he said is another way of saying Jacob's reasoning for doing this was he would appease Esau. So if Esau was angry, maybe the first wasn't enough, but by the different droves of presents he would see before he finally sees Jacob, it would eventually appease that anger that he had. Right? So he sees the first one, second one, third one, damn, fourth one, damn, fifth one, shit. It's a lot, now his mind is changing, right? That's what Jacob thought. And afterward I will see his face, peradventure he will accept of me. So, perhaps by chance this would be enough to have him forgive me and be more accepting so he wouldn't harm me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. So he set up the presents to go ahead, and he stayed in the host, or in the camp. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford Jabbok. Let's see if we can find where that is. Let's see. Jacob Jabbok. Yep. Let's see if we can get some images on that. Bible map. Okay, maybe it's this right here. All right, it doesn't zoom in anymore, but okay. So probably over here, somewhere right here, where they crossed Jabbok. So it's still on the east side of Jordan. So it says here, like he basically got up in the middle of the night and just had him and his wives and all of them cross that ford, which, as we went into, that shallow part of the river. And he took them and sent them over the brook and sent over that he had, so all his possession. And Jacob was left alone. Now, it doesn't say why he did that, whether he had seen the angel beforehand or whatever the case was. But at this point, he separated his family and his possessions, had them go across, and he was just by himself. And there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of day. So he saw an angel here. This man was an angel. And he basically wrestled with an angel for all that night until daybreak. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, this was the angel. So Jacob was definitely not a pushover. So as the angel was wrestling with Jacob, he sees, damn, this guy is, he's tough. And he basically couldn't win against him. He touched, which when you go into the word touch, it also goes into strike. So, either he hit or pulled some move, some jujitsu or some wrestling move. And as it says, he struck the hollow of his thigh. And this is his hip. Okay, when you go into the word hollow, he basically dislocated Jacob's hip joint, whatever. Right. So you have palm, sole, hollow of a thigh, right, of thigh joint. And the thigh joint, if you were to look that up, let's look up here. What is the thigh joint? The thigh joint is medically known as the hip joint, the crucial ball and socket connection. That's you got over there, where the thigh bone, the femur, meets the pelvis or the hip bone, allowing for weight bearing and wide ranging leg movements like walking, running, and sitting. Supported by ligaments, muscles, and cartilage, it is one of the body's largest joints, sacrificing some mobility for significant stability. So that's what the angel did, right? He basically dislocated Jacob's hip. As it says, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And that's that dislocation of it, as he wrestled with him. So he basically had to pull that on Jacob, because he was seeing that he couldn't, he wasn't getting the upper hand on him. And he said, so now and Jacob is still going at it with him, mind you. And so now, as it's becoming morning, the angel says to him, "Let me go, for the day breaketh." And he said, "I will not let thee go, except thou bless me." So maybe Jacob had him in a certain hold right now, where he's just basically hanging on, just locked him into something. And the angel's like, yo, let me go. I got to go. And he's like, nah, you got to bless me first. The fact that he asked for a blessing goes to show you that he knew that was an angel. And he said unto him, "What is thy name?" So the angel asked Jacob, "What's your name?" And he said, "Jacob." And he said, "Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and has prevailed." And when you go into that word prince, it also goes into to contend, to have power, to persist, to exert oneself, to persevere, okay, or to prevail here. So basically, he was strong, right, enough to prevail over, when it says God, the word is Elohim, which is angels, okay, over angels and also men, right? So you basically, you were able to contend with angels and men and prevail. All right, hence, as it says, his name was changed to Israel, right, Prince of God, because of this. And Jacob asked him and said, "Tell me, I pray thee, thy name." And he said, "Wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name?" So basically, for what? Why do you ask for my name? And he basically didn't tell him. And he blessed him there. So the angel blesses Jacob. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Because it was thought, right, in this time, that I think that's also what the Lord told Moses, that no man has seen the Lord, the Most High's face, or God's face, and lived. Which, technically speaking, these were angels, but it's kind of the same reaction that Manoah, the father of Samson, had. And when you go into the word Peniel in the Hebrew, I believe it's Panya Allah, but here they have it as, yeah, it should be Panya Allah. Because Panya is face, and then Allah is God, right? So facing God. And as he passed over Penuel, the sun rose upon him. So the sun started to rise, and he halted upon his thigh, which is another way of saying he was limping. Therefore the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh. So this is the ligament, or the muscle or whatever, tissue or whatever around that part of the thigh. Okay, on to this day, it became a tradition that they did, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh, in that the sinew shrank. So they basically did this as a remembrance, right, of this struggle that Jacob had with the angel. Okay. So if we read this in the NLT, it says, even today the people of Israel don't eat the tendon near the hip socket because of what happened that night when the man strained the tendon of Jacob's hip. And that brings us to the end of the book of Genesis, the 32nd chapter. And lo, will and thou is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory